Welcome to another fine edition of Insight on this Reno Media Group radio station. It's Bill hanging out with you. And what I love about this show is the opportunity to bring in incredible people that work with incredible organizations that do the most good in our community. And that includes the Eddy House. And super excited to have Trevor Macaluso in here. You're the CEO of the Eddy House. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Bill. Thank you for having us this morning.
Absolutely. Super stoked that you're in here. For those people that don't know what the Eddy House is all about, they hear the name out there, but they don't really thoroughly understand what you do. Kind of give us a snapshot.
Yeah, absolutely. So our mission at Eddy House is to create a safe environment for at-risk and homeless youth to develop the workforce and life skills necessary for sustainable independence. That's a lot of words to basically say we work with 18 to 24-year-olds to help them reach their goals.
Okay.
We started back in 2011 by Lynette Eddy. That's why we are the Eddy House. Wonderful woman in our community who was pursuing her master's degree in social work later on in life and was doing an internship down at the Record Street shelter where it used to be. Now it's the Big Cares campus. Right? And during that time, she discovered that the fastest growing subpopulation of homeless in our community was this youth population. And so she decided she wanted to do something about it. Her husband had unfortunately passed away, but using his life insurance money is actually how she started our little organization. And we have grown a lot since 2011. So now we have a 16,000 square foot facility over on Willow Street near Mill and Wells, where we are open 24/7 for youth who needs our services can come in and drop by.
When you talk about youth, are we talking male and female?
Yeah, male and female, and everything else. We're there to serve them. If they need a place to sleep at night, we've got a warm bed. We serve 3 meals a day, right? So we're able to provide meals and food for them. We have pantry bags. So youth in our community who may have housing, but they're food insecure, we are able to meet that need. We have a wonderful outreach team that's going out into the community and working on the river and at the university campus twice a month and at TMCC once a month, just trying to engage and identify who these young people are who need services.
And it's one of those organizations, too, that has just grown leaps and bounds since 2011. I mean, because this was a grassroots effort that started back in 2011, correct?
It was, yeah. So it was just a really, really small organization. And, back in 2014, the Community Foundation got involved through the UNI initiative. They started doing some focus groups with youth around town and ended up funding and helping Eddy House have a little drop-in center over on East 6th Street. And so it was a little place Monday through Friday, 10 to 4 kind of operation. But really it was missing a huge gap, and that was overnight shelter services.
Is this something that was probably a service like this when it came into play in 2011? Was it already long overdue for this community?
Absolutely. Long, long overdue. Our community is great at a number of wonderful things, but for a long time, we've really lacked in the services we provided for our homeless neighbors. And especially when it comes to this youth population. When we're looking at youth at Eddy House, over a third of them are former foster youth. So these are kids who were in the foster care system.
They all have a story to tell.
They all have a story to tell. They all have a different background. And honestly, they were not really given a great chance to have opportunities like so many of us in our community love and enjoy. And so oftentimes, they turn 18, the school year ends, and they've got no place to go. And unfortunately, they're ending up at Eddy House, which is great because before, at least they were ending up on the street. So it's a step. It's still not great that they're with us, and we're working on solutions for what that can look like in the future. But it's a long overdue service in our community.
Trevor, you've been in your role now as the CEO for what, 2, 3?
About 3 years.
3
yeah.
years. Okay. What did you do before this?
Yeah, so I grew up here in town and went to the university. And then
you know this community.
I know this community, but I moved to Las Vegas for 10 years and worked in a lot of development type organizations.
Sorry about that.
It was a long and very hot 10 years. I am super excited to have been back to my hometown and giving back. And so my entire background is in community development and trying to get folks involved and loving their community. And so the Eddy House story just really fits.
What I always love asking people when they come in here for this Insight show is what was their aha moment when they realize this is the job for me. I'm in the perfect job. This is the reason why I'm in public service. Is there a particular story of a youth that came through the program that really kind of verified it for you that, you're in the right place at the right time?
At the right time. Yeah, I think what's really unique is that Eddy House youth have such a variety of different backgrounds. And so, and a personal passion that I have is anti-trafficking work here in our community and across the country and around the world. And so working with those youth who have been trafficked in our community, over 20% of the youth we work with, both men and women, have been trafficked. And so working with them to receive services.
That's a startling number.
It is a startling number, And we served 511 youth last year. It was a 40% increase over the year before. And so we're seeing this number continue to rise, but there's a lot of hope in the things that we get to do as well. And right, so seeing those stories of youth who actually come to us, go through our drop-in center, meet with our case managers, go through our program, develop their life skills, and go find a great entry-level career job and move out. Like, those are the motivating factors.
Trevor, Eddy House is a lot more than just a shelter. I mean, this is full scale 360 rehab for a lot of these youth. Is that a safe statement?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have housing for them. We have, life skills and workforce development. And really that's what our real mission is focusing on those skills development. And the fact that we have a shelter is just a tool to meet the needs of the youth that we want to serve. So we really heavily focus on how do we take these youth and help them to become employable so that they can have the ability to earn the income they need to afford rent in our community. And rent in our community is continuing to rise. A one-bedroom apartment right now is $1,500 to $2,000 a month. Landlords are requiring 3x income per month in order to even consider renting to you. And so youth, I don't know anybody 18 to 24 who's already making, $4,500 a month, even right out of college, right? That's not normal in our community. And so that's why Eddy House exists. That's why we're growing. That's why we're expanding. That's why we're creating this transitional living community right now that we're under construction for.
We're going to talk a little bit more about that here in just a little bit. Let's talk about youth that come into the program. They're probably very scared. Probably don't know what's coming around the corner because there's a lot of fear of the unknown. What type of programs are available for those youth that come into this program day one?
Yeah, our biggest focus day one is just helping youth feel safe and heard, right? We don't know what they're experiencing. We don't know if they're coming, again, from a trafficking situation, from a domestic violence situation, if they've been on the street for a long time, if they're coming directly out of a foster home because they just aged out and graduated, which is the biggest increase we see every year is in these last 2 weeks when school ends. Our whole goal is to make them feel seen and heard and discover what their goals are. So they fill out an intake packet, they meet with a case manager, and then we start establishing a plan, right? So what are the things that you need? Hey, you need some clothing. You want to feel good? Great. We have a clothing closet that we partner with Good Shepherd's Clothing Closet on to provide those resources. You need something to eat? Great. You know what? The Boys and Girls Club actually works with us to provide our lunches and dinners every single day. And so we're able to, get you a hot meal, get you a good meal, get you a filling meal. You need to take a shower. You haven't showered in a while? Great. We've got showers and towels and all the hygiene items that you need, which are generously donated by folks across the community. It's a high need item we have. And that's really the big thing is make them feel safe. Once they feel safe by the fact that we're reaching and meeting all of these essential resources that these folks need when they walk in the door, then we can start working on, okay, do you have your essential documents, right? Do you have your ID, your social security card, your birth certificate? Because if you don't have those items, you can't get a job. You can't go rent an apartment. And so oftentimes the youth that are coming to us don't have any of those documents. And so it's then working with them to discover those.
And what I love about this, too, is that not only does it help them get on their feet, but it also teaches them, like you said, the importance of documentation, the importance of life skills. There's a lot of these kids, and you mentioned a bunch of them come from the world of being trafficked. When you grow up in that world of drugs or the foster care system or being trafficked, you don't have a lot of those social skills or life skills that are taught in either a family situation or at school. Is that safe to say?
That is exactly right. And that's why we've actually partnered with the university and we've developed several different domains and focus areas of what a youth needs to transition to adulthood most effectively. They need an appreciation for the resources in town and a working knowledge of what does career and finance look like, what does housing and transportation, self-care, right? Mental health, going and seeing a doctor, visiting a dentist, getting on insurance, like regular things that in a traditional upbringing folks in our community would experience that these youth haven't. And so oftentimes it's figuring out where they are on this spectrum so that we can get them the resources they need, help them appreciate it, and start accessing those in the community. Because our goal for Eddy House is to be as temporary as possible and support them for long-term solutions.
How long is somebody in the Eddy House program? Is it does everybody have kind of like their own story, or is it 6 days, 6 months? What is it?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And the truth is it varies. For some youth, they need us for only 6 days, right? They need us for only 3 days. They need us for 3 nights. They got kicked out by a significant other. They got kicked out by their roommates, by their parents haven't let them come home for one reason or the other. They need us in a temporary place, and we can work with them really quickly to get housed. But we have a program that really runs 6 months. And so if you really don't have another place to go, our goal is that within 6 months or less, that we've got the training that you need, the skills and workforce to start out, and that we have started to identify housing. The issue, though, we've had is the lack of housing in our community. Mm-hmm. So that's why we've had to come up with other programs that how do we help these youths and support them so that they can grow in their earning capacity in order to afford one day having an apartment in our community.
Before we talk about the construction of your transitional living community, I need to ask you this, is that once somebody goes through the Eddy House program, let's just say, unfortunately, sometimes people stumble again. Mm-hmm. Are they able to come back and get a refresher?
Absolutely. And we will do that as many times as we need. What we've seen actually is over the last 3 years, the number of youth coming back has decreased because of the implementation of these new programs, which we're really, really proud of. On having this focus around those domains and partnership with the university has really allowed us to become more successful, and youth haven't had the need to come back. What's really awesome is we've also implemented a aftercare program. Okay. So we have an individual on our staff that anytime someone exits our program into housing, she will follow up with them at regular intervals to make sure that they stay housed in their safe situations. And how can we connect them to other resources if they need it that prevent them from accessing the shelter? We're happy to be a place they can come back to, but we really want to empower people to stay in a safe housing situation. And so the answer is yes, they can come back, but we really try to provide the opportunities for them not to have to.
Let's talk about the construction of your transitional living community. And I said it at the start of the show, since Eddy House was created in 2011, it has grown leaps and bounds. And this transitional living community is the next step, correct?
Absolutely. We're really excited about it. So an issue we have, and I mentioned earlier, is we have youth go through our programming. They've got a great job. They're doing well. And they're ready. They want to move out, but they just still can't afford an apartment in our community. And they're probably really low on a list to get a voucher from the housing authority because they've not been homeless very long or as frequently as some of our more chronic homeless in our community, which is great. That's what our mission is about, preventing chronic homelessness. And so what we've done is we have partnered with the Pennington Foundation. We have partnered with the Homies Nevada Initiative with the Nevada Housing Division, and we are constructing a facility with 36 units, studio apartments that will be transitional housing for youth. We broke ground on it this last spring. It will be open March of next year. And it's really exciting because each one of these units has everything a youth needs, right? It's got a small kitchenette. It's got its own in-unit washer and dryer, a little kitchen space, a bed, have a TV that works, its own bathroom. And the idea is that youth will start out paying a really low program service fee that will slowly increase over the first 18 months to reach the market rate. So we're also encouraging them and preparing them for what reality looks like outside of Eddy House, all within the protection of this holistic care that we're able to offer.
Let me ask you this. Where does the money come from? Because the money makes the world go round. Yeah. Where does the money come from to build a project like this?
Yeah, so again, thanks to the Nevada Housing Division's Home Means Nevada Initiative group. And the Pennington Foundation, and we had a couple other smaller foundations, anonymous great families here in town that were willing to come together. And honestly, those three organizations, they came together and helped to fund this program.
How important is that community support for a program like the Eddy House?
Yeah, what I tell everybody is that we are a community-driven organization. It's only thanks to the community that we're able to continue to offer the services that we have been able to serve so many youth over the last 12, 13 years since we've been around. We rely on the community for advocacy work to make people aware of our services, to help reach more youth, right? A common occurrence of youth in our community is couch surfing, right? The idea that they don't have a safe place to sleep, but they're staying on friends and families' couches all the time, right? The truth is that person is homeless and needs stable housing. And so raising awareness that those kinds of folks need our services. And then again, just donations, events, helping us with drives for things like socks and underwear and hygiene items, coming in and volunteering to work with our youth, serving food, going on outreach with us. All of that is only possible thanks to the community and our wonderful partners.
I'm going to ask you a hard question here because you being the CEO of the Eddy House, and you're like, oh, great, here comes a hard question. With everything that you guys have going on, with the work that's going on, the transitional living community, the sock drives, the underwear drives, the food drives, with everything that you do, with the growing population that we have here in the Reno Sparks 775 area, do you always kind of feel like you're constantly behind the eight ball?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We're constantly meeting people who, hey, I've heard of Eddy House. I kind of know what you do, but I really don't know what your purpose is. And so we are constantly having to help raise awareness around the community about our mission and around the issue of youth homelessness, right? It's not a thing that many people see or many people are aware of, despite the fact, like I mentioned, we saw a 40% increase in the number of youth accessing our services in 2023 compared to 2022.
Is that because of COVID?
I think it could be a latent COVID effect. I also think that housing prices continue to become more unaffordable in our community. I think that we are doing a slightly good job at raising awareness among the community that we're serving. And so we're getting more referrals from other agencies and people are becoming more comfortable with accessing our services. But it is an issue that is growing nationwide. Youth homelessness was just recognized by HUD earlier this spring as being at an all-time high.
Because talk about the most difficult time to come into a nonprofit, as right in the middle of COVID, because that's when you got to Eddy House,
there.
right?
Absolutely.
And where a lot of nonprofits around town, major organizations, nationally run organizations like the Heart Association, American Lung Association, Cancer Society, basically said, we're going to close our local office because, fundraising makes the world go round, and they had to shut their offices. But how does an organization like Eddy House weather the storm where a lot of other nonprofits couldn't do it?
Yeah, I think what is really unique is that, especially with the cause of Eddy House, we opened our shelter January of 2020. Right before COVID. And so then COVID hits and we don't have the option to close. These youth don't have another place to go. And so we had amazing staff throughout 2020, throughout 2021, even to the beginning of 2022, who worked split schedules and split shifts and half the staff home and half the staff off so that we were maintaining safety and safe guidelines. But the need was there. The need wasn't going to go away without our ability to be there. And I think what's really amazing is it speaks to just the wonderful community we have here that we were able to keep operating. We continued to raise money to pay to keep the lights on and showers and all the things. We continued to receive generous donations of items and clothing and food throughout the whole process, and the community showed up. And I think that's what's amazing about the community that we live in is, right, when there's a need and when we can see, for example, that like these kids, they're the community's kids. They're not some, kids from outside of Nevada, outside in other places. Over 85% of them are our own youth from our Reno Sparks area. And so we as a community have a responsibility to them. And so I think our community recognizes that when they hear our story and are willing to pitch in however they can.
Money makes the world go round. There's no doubt, especially in the world of nonprofit. But if you had to list something that the Eddy House really needs, what is it?
Yeah, we always need socks and underwear. Yeah, it's a high use item, right? Especially for the folks here in our community that we're serving, and that's not an item that can be donated after being used, right? It's got to be new, and so we do a lot of drives specifically for those two things.
What about hygiene items?
Always can use hygiene items, toothbrushes, shampoos, both travel size and full size. Travel size is great though. because, the transient nature of our youth, we can kind of be without waste a little bit by using those sizes.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And the reason why I asked that question is because we live in a community where we have a lot of casinos. We have a lot of
Absolutely.
services, dental offices, for example. So if you work in a dental office, maybe you have a bunch of toothpaste or toothbrushes that you want to donate to Eddy House. Maybe you're tied in with one of the big casinos, Atlantis, GSR, Row. You're all listening. You have the little shampoo bottles or the little bottles of soap, and you can donate a couple of boxes to Eddy House. This is a great opportunity for you.
Absolutely. All of those things are huge for us, make a huge impact on the youth we have, right? And allows us to then steward community dollars in places that are better spent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And look, what about volunteers? Are you looking for volunteers, people to help? Because you talk about a lot of your programs, the education assistance, the workforce development programs. I mean, you guys have employees, but you don't have this huge whelping staff. Are you looking for volunteers?
Always. So 85% of the groups that we offer throughout the year that are teaching the education and workforce and life skills are actually volunteers. And so if you've got expertise or skills in an area, right, you love to cook and teach people how to cook or teach people how to bake or how to interview well, for applying for a job or how to build a resume. If you are working in an HR department, we'd love to have you. If you know the ins and outs of applying for a rental application or tenancy laws and rules, like those are the kinds of folks that we want to be bringing in and teaching our youth the skills, right? Our staff can teach it, but hearing from experts in the field is always way more impactful, way more meaningful. So we have great partners that do this already, right? Greater Nevada Credit Union, Nevada State Bank, they come in and they teach financial literacy, and that's great. But we're always looking for more. We're looking for coaches. We're looking for mentors. We're looking for folks that can meet with our youth in the evenings and on weekends, because if we've done a really great job and the youth now has a job, in our community, well, they're not around for groups throughout the week. And so we need people who are willing to be those coaches and mentors in those subjects as well.
Where does we talked about the progress of the Eddy House since 2011 and leaps and bounds progress. Where do you see the Eddy House in, say, 5 years in a community that is not slowing down in growth?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be necessary for Eddy House to grow. That's why we've grown so much in the last few years, right? Is we are going to continue to grow to meet the need. And so one of the things that we're going to be doing and are experimenting with later on this year is going back to our roots that we had back on 6th Street back in 2014 and starting to serve homeless high school students. In the last year, in 2023, of those youth who came to us new for the first time, 37% told us that they were homeless before the age of 18.
Wow.
Homeless before the age of 18. And that statistic has gone from 37 and ranged between that and 45% over the last 3 years. And so we really see a need to work with some of our great partners that we have in the community and identify these youth who are attending high schools or should be attending high school and meet the needs that they have, clothes, school supplies, dinners, pantry bags, so that we can hopefully prevent them from needing our services when they turn 18, or at least make that transition easier when they have to come to the shelter.
And all the stuff that you just mentioned is a lot of the stuff that pretty much all of us take for granted.
Absolutely, right? These are things that we don't even think about, right? And a lot of youth don't think about, right? Anybody who's got a teenager in their home or has raised children or had a college-age student in their home, right? If those kids made a mistake, they got fired from a job, they didn't have to worry about where they were sleeping at night, right? And that's what Eddy House is filling for this gap in our community is you have this young 19-year-old who, again, grew up in the foster care system and aged out and had nowhere to go. Well, if he gets fired from a job and can't pay rent, he now actually has to worry about where he's going. But now because of Eddy House, we can kind of create that stopgap. We can work with him on what happened in that situation, on developing your career skills, and then preventing those things from happening in the future so we can set them up for stability long term.
It's crazy the people that tune into the show. If there was a teenager that feels like a teenager, young, male, female, that feels like they're on the brink, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I would say just come on by. 888 Willow Street. We're open 24/7. If you need help, we've got the services for you. You may not need shelter, You may just want to talk about a career. You may want to talk about job training, earning a certification, getting a pantry bag, getting hygiene items. We have all those things. The shelter is not a requirement, right? If you need the shelter, we have it as well. And so we offer all these services. You can find them on our website, eddyhouse.org. But come by and we can just start meeting those needs and identifying and helping that individual to identify and pursue their goals. The thing is, we see you. We want you to be safe. And we want to help you along the way.
Let me ask you this, short-term things that are coming up on the horizon for the Eddy House. Any special events, special weeks that we should look forward to as we wrap up 2024?
Yeah, so November is actually National Youth Homeless Awareness Month. And so it's a really big deal because our mission is to also raise the awareness of what's going on in our community. But what we look for is a bunch of partners in the business community around town. And so people who will let us put up signs and posters and table tents to raise awareness, but also if they're willing to do a drive for us, right? At your business to also host a sock and underwear drive. Or we've had great partners like Tandem Chocolates, who has donated money back on some of the chocolate boxes during that period to Eddy House, or Squeeze In did a change roundup for us in the last year. So businesses like that, we can get really creative, talk with our team, reach out to us via our website or via our email, info@eddyhouse.org. And we'd love to chat with you about those. We're in the planning stages of that now.
It's funny that you bring that up because there are a lot of local businesses here in town. You mentioned some of them like Squeeze In. That are looking for local nonprofits to be part of. So, because, and that's the thing. It's very important for some people when they donate to a cause that they want to know that the funds stay local. What would you say to businesses like, I think I really want to get involved with that? Are they able to come in and tour the campus, sit down and talk with you?
We would absolutely want to give you a tour. That's always step one, is really letting people see for themselves the great work that we do. And then really just meeting with our team and getting creative, right? We really believe in cross-promoting, and so we want to be able to honor the wonderful donors and supporters that we have in our community while also raising the necessary support that we have to meet the growing need. And so the November campaign is really an awesome opportunity to do that. We get a lot of attention and notice. And last year we partnered with over 50 different businesses in town to make this possible. Yeah, it's a really, really big deal and something that this will be our third year of doing it. So we hopefully will continue to see that grow and get even bigger. But it's a really great opportunity to, again, raise awareness, but also raise necessary funding.
Have you guys ever thought about how many lives the Eddy House has touched over those years since 2011? I mean, it's got to be in the thousands.
It's definitely in the thousands. And what's really amazing is because we've been around a while now, having the opportunity to meet the different, we're youth now, middle-aged adults who Lynette first served in 2011. Mm-hmm. Young men who lived in the first houses, who are, in their careers now as electricians, who are starting their own families, who are really doing well, and to really connect and see how 10 years later that impact is still felt, and they're reaching their goals and achieving their dreams.
Is that the most rewarding thing ever when you see a former client and you're just like, wow, you're really doing well,
and they're
for
really
yourself.
doing well. I ran into a former client recently who just became a father, and he looked at me and he said, I feel like I've actually grown up to a man now, because I've got this responsibility and I've got this child to take care of. But if it weren't for Eddy House, I wouldn't be in the situation to actually be able to take care of my son. And so hearing stories like that are hugely impactful and definitely motivating for myself and so many of our staff to see that, hey, we are doing a good job. We're making a difference. Our mission is being carried out. And we're being good stewards of what's going on in the community.
Absolutely. Eddyhouse.org is the web address. Again, eddyhouse.org. I assume you're all over the socials as well.
Absolutely.
All right, very cool. We've been talking to Trevor Macaluso. He's the CEO of the Eddy House here in Reno. Again, learn more about the Eddy House at eddyhouse.org. Again, eddyhouse.org. Hopefully you enjoyed Insight on this Reno Media Group radio station. We do it every single Sunday right here, and we'll do it again next week. Do something positive this week.